Welcome to the Living Word Podcast. I am your host, Genevieve, and these episodes serve as a reminder to how essential your fullest expression is on this planet during one of the most transformative times in our history. Together, we are going to explore truth through vulnerable conversations about life's deeper meaning, exploring holistic wellness, mindset, spirituality, entrepreneurship, love, and everything in between. Let's dive in, shall we? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Living Word Podcast. Today, I have two special guests with me. My incredible partner, Hayden Vavra, is here for the conversation, and we are joined by our friend, Matthew Britt. Now, this conversation is going to appeal to a lot of you. If you've ever wondered why so many people are experiencing less vitality or optimization in their life, if you're someone who may be questioning the foods that we eat or the ingredients in the foods, and you're really looking to get back to a place of balance, of self-sustainability, then this episode is absolutely for you. And when we met back with Matt, because I've known him actually for over 10 years, we heard about a new project that he was spearheading. And what I will say is he is a disruptor in many industries, but this really touched our heart. And what we're going to be talking about today is called Food Forest Abundance. And this is a journey to reclaim your health, well-being, and independence in the way you source your food. This is a movement to transform lawns and farmlands across the globe into diverse, abundant, and easy to maintain food forests. And Hayden and I really jumped on this subject because we're someone that, as we are thinking about bringing a family into this world, we were like, what do we want it to look like? How can we be even more intentional about the way that we structure our life? And this is a subject that we want to dive into. So Matt, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being a disruptor, a leader, shining the light on what's possible. And I'd first love to start with, how did you even come to this mission, this movement? And I know it's probably a long story, but I would love for you to introduce yourself and just share a little bit about getting to this point.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for having me here. Great to see you both. And I'm jealous you're in Mexico and I'm up here in cold Canada. But it's raining there today, so maybe that makes me feel better. The journey to food forest abundance was really started as a big overarching mission for myself. I set back in 2004 that I wanted to improve people's life, health, and prosperity. And I made that decision early in my life. And once I had that North Star kind of set, everything else that's come into my life was easy to sift and sort through to ensure that I stayed on that path. And in 2017, I made a move into the solar industry. So I was working in renewables. I may have had a little bit of a cloudy perspective at that time, thinking it was, everything it was pretending to be. I still believe collecting energy from the sun is a wise move. However, is it all that part of the world wants us to believe it is? That's not true. There's some dirty things that go on in the renewable space, but I digress. Being in that industry, I got to see a number of different opportunities I was in solar directly running my own business until 2020. And then our friends, the Canadian government, decided to make sure they shut everything down because of a pandemic, shall we say. And from there, I decided that I was going to focus on building in the United States. And I joined a company called Power. Power built a decentralized, kind of like an Uber of solar business model. And they started a new business development division inside the company, and I became their head of business development. So I was building an installer network across the United States, 23 US states. And while doing so, I happened to come across Food Forest Abundance. And my original intention was not to go work at Food Forest Abundance. It was to unify Power with Food Forest Abundance, because everybody who's putting a solar array on their house, whether they realize it or not, they're looking for other ways to be more resilient and self-sufficient. And vice versa. Everybody installing a permaculture food forest on their property, they want to be more resilient and self-sufficient too. So I thought, hey, what a great collaboration opportunity. But as I connected the two CEOs, it became very apparent that the CEO of Power wasn't ready for that at the time. And as I learned more about what Jim Gale, the founder of Food Forest Abundance, was up to, I just realized there's a much greater opportunity for impact all over the world. Power's working in 23 states. Food Forest Abundance literally had no borders. So, and, food is a massive issue to everybody. If we don't have food, we don't survive. Energy is obviously extremely important too. Energy is a great unlocker for so many things, but power was in 23 US states, where Food Forest Abundance gave me instant access to a global community. And from there, that was 3.5 years ago. I made a full pivot. I literally had zero experience with food production at all, no experience with permaculture. I heard the term before, but I didn't know what it was. But I realized that the way things are going right now, where we fight nature to produce food, we use chemicals to control the environment, and those chemicals are poisoning us. And if we kept doing this, there wasn't going to be a bright future for my children. And at that time, I only had one child. I now have three. And that mission has become even more important, I want to leave the world a better place for them and everybody. I think we've been misled that scarcity is true, and it's actually the complete opposite. Abundance is everywhere. We've just been fooled and unfortunately embrace it. And I'm here to help change it.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's just so exciting because you talk about back in 2020. I think a lot of it was designed to suppress people, but what it did was awake people.
Yeah.
And really show them what are the things I need to do to prepare myself, my family, and for future generations as well. So talking a little bit about food and where it's at. I mean, you've traveled all over the place, and we look at, kind of what's happened in the US and Canada, and there's so many chemicals, and we're starting now to see, hopefully now some of that's going to change. I don't know how quickly or fast that will go, but what with Food Forest Abundance, like what is the idea, behind that? Like, how are you empowering other people to, get involved with this and really be a part of it?
So we embrace nature. One, two is we're a design business. Our business model is to take the guesswork that people normally would have out of it. And people today, they have one of two primary images in their head when they think about growing food. They either see a monoculture farm or they see an annual garden that mom or grandma used to have. And although both of those have got us to where we're at today, they've been of great importance, they both fight nature, right? They control that environment 100%. That's why they're so time, energy, money, and resource intensive. And if you need an example of a monoculture system, anybody watching, go look at your lawn. That's a monoculture system. And if you don't interact with that lawn for a few months, that will become a meadow, a diverse ecosystem. That's nature's resiliency, right? It's relentless. It will never lose to us, ever. No matter how much poison we put in it, eventually that poison will go away and nature will come back. So what we're doing is embracing nature. We're letting nature do what nature does best. We just support it by building healthy soil, creating a great microbiome. I'm sure a lot of your audience is aware of the microbiome in the gut and how vital a role that plays in our health, that gut-brain connection, etc. It's the same in the soil. Those soil microbes, in a handful of soil, there's billions and billions of microbes in there. And those microbes interact with the plant life. They interact with the mycelial network and the root system. And they transfer energy from the microbes to one another. And it's actually a very symbiotic relationship. We know that plants actually communicate to one another, right? Nature is not this thing that we're separate from. We are part of nature, and nature's brilliance and God's design, if you will, is smarter than any of us ever could be. And what we do is we let God's design do what it does best by providing a great environment and then utilizing the science of permaculture, permanent agriculture, to utilize the hundreds of thousands of edible, perennial, and medicinal plants that then go and produce an abundance of resources for us: food, medicines, energy, fibers, building materials, all of that stuff. And our expertise is in the design side. So when people come to us, they feel overwhelmed. They feel like, I don't have a green thumb, or I'm not a farmer, or I don't have time. Great. I'm not a farmer either. I don't have a green thumb. I don't grow food. Nature grows food. The reason why farmers work so hard is because they fight nature. So we let nature do what nature does best, and we get out of the way, and it will produce an abundance for us, right? We don't believe the Garden of Eden is this utopic fantasy. It's already here right now. We've just been fooled.
I love the way you explain things. And the first time both of us were really like fascinated by permaculture was when we watched the movie Little Big Farm.
Yeah.
And if you listening haven't seen that, I highly recommend watching it, because it showed this incredible story of taking like useless land, as most people would call it, and within 7 years it turned into its own utopia of bringing so much beautiful food, and it is all by interacting with each other.
Yep.
And since that moment, watching that and knowing it's possible, I've been fascinated, because a lot of the time I talk to people, and we, as business coaches, we're always asking people like, what does increasing your wealth profile do for you? And a lot of people talk about having more access to food, but what really like is interesting is when they say that, I go, what does that mean to you? And it's like being able to afford organic groceries. And to me, I'm like, okay, like I get it. That's a step. Yet even organic groceries, like when we know what they even use to coat the food, it's just mind boggling. And it's no wonder that we're seeing generations that are sicker than ever, younger than ever.
Yep.
And when we go back to seeing how every bug, every slug, everything has a place.
Yes.
And what we're doing is trying to terminate all of that. It really it shows us that like what is outside is within us. And so what we're doing to the land is also what we're doing to ourselves.
Yes.
What's your view on like organic food and like what is available in the supermarket?
The supermarkets, you got to be careful. It's a business. Organics doesn't mean what we believe it means. They give permission to all kinds of different chemicals to be included in the production. And those residues end up on the food. They end up in our mouths and cause problems. Some of the major things with the chemicals is the impact on the gut microbiome. So if you want organic food today, you got to go to the farmers yourself, like know who's producing it, or be the producer. And our vision is that we build a localized, decentralized, poison-free food and medicine supply by converting lawn space, not all of it, but converting pieces of lawn into edible landscapes. Because right now, the lawn is a liability. It takes you time, energy, money to cut it. And that thing doesn't want to be there. How do I know? Don't cut it for 2 months, right? It doesn't look like a lawn anymore.
Yeah.
And interestingly, who used to have lawns? The royalty. Royalty had big lawns and people to cut their lawns. Everybody else grew food.
Wow.
But we made a move to keep up with the Joneses, right? They got us believing we had to have a nice lawn and stop growing food and let somebody over there grow food for you instead. And it's something that we've given up our power on. And because of that, look where we're at, right? You talked about the sickest, our age instead of been going up for how long we live, has started to go down. And that's a reflection of the business of food production, the business of chemical production, right? Most people don't know the chemicals that are utilized in food production today. Many of them started off as war machine chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a business who's all of a sudden out of war, you're out of business. So you don't want your business to go out of business. So you repurpose what you got. And they figured out, hey, we used to be able to kill life in war. How can we kill life in the field to continue driving the consumption of our business? And, we can go down a conspiracy rabbit hole here just for a second, but you look at Monsanto and Bayer. Monsanto is the number one producer of glyphosate, which is a known carcinogen that causes cancer. How do we know it causes cancer? Well, they've been found guilty in court and paid tens of billions of dollars in fines. Bayer, who now has bought Monsanto, is one of the largest cancer drug producers in the world. So we've got the cancer-causing agent owned by the company who's got the cancer-causing agent's solution. Couldn't be anything to do with wanting to make more money. They want to help us.
Absolutely. Well, and I think one of the things that we love so much, and I mean, obviously you can share that, but it's how you express things, Matt. It's very much like, yeah, we can call things conspiracy, but I also think that if we're not having these conversations, then we're allowing them to win this fictional war. And one of the funny things about permaculture, we have an off-grid cabin in Nova Scotia, and my brother's really into this. He loves the simplified living. We moved to Mexico, simplified our life. We started noticing the difference of foods, right? Like we come here now, we're like, this banana is like, it's an actual banana.
This is what a banana tastes like?
Right.
Wow.
It's so different. And that opened our eyes even more because we realized that there's so much importing and exporting. How long does that food stay on the truck? How long does this exist? No wonder they have to use these crazy things called appeal now on organic vegetables to keep them good. Yeah. And so it's like, I look at that. And then the other side of it is people often say they don't have time, right? They don't have time for this. Now, from your opinion, if someone wants to have a permaculture lawn, I love what you said. The lawn is a liability. It's true. Like no one wants to mow their lawn. I don't want to. That's why we have a condo right now. Yeah. But I would have a food lawn. Do people have to just completely write off the rest of their lives and like do sustainable living? Because I think that's a concept that people have that they have to stop everything.
Yeah. And I think one of the questions that came up to me when we first talked was like, okay, well, yeah, but how much space do you need? Do you need acres of, farmland, or do you need a little bit of space, or what, where does somebody start with that?
Time and space.
Yeah. You don't need as much space as you think. Most people already have ornamental plants growing on their property in some capacity. Convert those to perennials. Why is perennials so important? It means they grow back year over year without you having to replant them, right? Let's just use an apple tree as an example. You plant an apple tree, that will produce apples, hundreds of pounds of apples for you for decades. Not a season, decades, right? What a good investment. You don't have to be out there caring for that apple tree every day for it to produce those apples. When you have a healthy soil microbiome, you have the right companion planting around it, which, by the way, is what our team does, design these systems, and then get that stuff in the ground and establish it. You can leave these things and come back 30 years later to a more expansive ecosystem. So it's not about having a massive piece of land. The majority of our business has been done in the suburban backyard. Wow. Now, we've also done work at schools, churches, prisons, orphanages, hotels, resorts, and everything in between. We have done stuff on broadacre farms. We did over a 60-acre design for a place in Ghana. But the belief of the hard work comes from the picture of the monoculture farm and the farmer up at 3 a.m. and not going to bed till the fields are done at 5, and that is very time, energy, money, and resource intensive because they fight nature. And farmers aren't bad. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on that. They're doing amazing things, and they're doing it all for the right reasons. They have been fooled too. And many of them have been placed in a trap where their soil has been so depleted from the stuff that they have to use that they don't have a choice but to put chemical inputs in it. And they've also been fooled by the chemical industry. They box them in with quotas. If they don't hit their quotas, they don't make money. They actually end up fined, and it ruins them. And then they get these massive loans from often the departments of agriculture or those things within government that again trap them in this perpetual cycle of, I want to do something different, I just can't because of this, right? And with this, why we look at doing this more at the local level is that when we get more people producing at home, it takes the burden off the grocery store, which makes more available for those that don't have it. It drives down the pricing, right? Supply and demand. And it now gives a shattering effect to the whole food industrial complex, and then would give farmers breathing room to be able to make adjustments. So our strategy is like, let's get as many people as possible producing some of their own food. Doesn't have to be all of it. And everybody will grow a bit different. And then we work together to inspire other people around us to do the same thing. And then work together to help the new person establish their own food forest on their property, because the 100 people around them, everybody's donating one plant and everybody's donating 1 hour. And now the new food forest was set up for almost nothing. We've almost demonetized the whole expansion of this because everybody's food forest naturally becomes a nursery, and their own food supply is not safe until everybody has some food, right?
I don't know if you're listening and this expands your heart, but when I listen to you talk, Matt, about this project, like I feel freedom. I feel liberation. I feel like food, right? Food is such a big symbol of community, like we love, our favorite thing is dinners and cooking and even grocery shopping now that we're back to like the little like local markets, like we love it. It's become so fun again. And now to hear you speak about this, it's like people are coming together again to support food and families.
Yes.
And like what we always talk about and we dream about it. We live on a jungle. We're always watching everything going on. And our dream is to buy land where we want to be one of the people that have the food forest abundance set up for people to recognize. And we always talk about how we can already see the fruits and the veggies and the chickens running through the jungle. Like we visually see it. And to me, that feels so luxury. It feels so abundant. It just makes sense. And it's like we can come back and help each other. I see you really like bringing like oneness, wholeness back into communities instead of separation. It's like these tall fences and no one's speaking to each other. And it's like, this is mine. And it doesn't make sense really to me. We see it here a lot in Mexico where those borders are lowered, where people are swapping, are bartering, are sharing.
Well, I think we've gotten like, conveniences are great, but it also takes us away from, some of the things that are important, and it can distract us from, even there's generations of people now that have no idea where their food even comes from.
Yes.
They're just so used to going into a store and buying it, or, the amount of people that are just getting boxed lunches and, all of those things out of the sake of convenience. And I don't have time, and, it's cheaper. Well, there's a reason for all of that. And I think really getting back to the essence of community and being able to grow your own food and being able to like for kids to grow up, like I can't even imagine your kids
Mm-hmm.
growing up and knowing, wow, this is so cool. We just harvested this from the forest. We came in, we cleaned it, we ate it, and now we're enjoying it together. And it really creates that community and harmony that I think so many are missing out on
And they're
now
very drawn to
for
it.
the sake of convenience.
Yeah. And kids are very drawn to it. And
Yeah.
you're very right. The convenience has been a killer in the sense that we continue to give up our power and responsibilities to a big corporation. And we have to remember, and I always like to be very clear on this. We're not saying all these people are bad. Not at all.
No.
Everybody does the best they can at the time with the resources that they have. Fantastic. But we have to remember a corporation has a fiduciary responsibility to produce value for their shareholders.
Yes.
What does that mean? It means they have to make money. If they don't make money, they can be sued. So that puts them in a very precarious situation. They have to make choices that make profit over caring for people. And yes, we've had some innovations, right? The B Corporation that now has planet profit, or it's planet people profit is kind of supposed to be their order. But again, when you get into these places, you end up in a situation where they make choices, and those choices don't usually mean a better thing for you. It means better things for the corporation. And until we start getting back to a way that the population has taken their own power back, these corporations are going to continue to get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Who has the most influence in government today? Right? If you look at the United States of America, we the people are supposed to be in charge. But it's no longer we the people. It's them, the corporations. The corporations lobby with tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. They go sit in the halls of DC talking to the people who can make the decisions for them that they want. And if those people don't do what they want, they don't get the money. Right? And again, these politicians, they're not all bad. Is there corruption? Absolutely. Have good people been corrupted? Absolutely. But they didn't start off that way. They wanted to make a difference. But the system is so entrenched now with dollar bills talking louder than people ever could. It's leading us to a place where the thing that matters most is more money, growing the GDP, right? You're a good country if you're always growing, instead of you're a good country if your people have a great high quality of life, right? You can look at the United States of America again, supposedly the most industrialized, most advanced civilization that's ever been. Yet the people are suffering. More and more people at food banks, more and more people living on the street. Crime is ramping up. Doesn't need to, right? Why does crime happen? Desperate people do desperate things. They need to feed their child, so they're going to go break into your home. I get it. Doesn't mean it's right, but I get the desperation.
Totally
Right?
get it.
And if we understand that a man named Henry Kissinger, who met with every US president and almost all of the world leaders for the past 50 years, talked about how if you control food, you control people. This isn't a babbling idiot, right? He's not just rambling something that he doesn't mean to be true. He gets why controlling food will give them the power to control the people. So it's time the people say, F you, we're going to take our food back. We're going to work with nature that we are a part of. We're not separate from, we're a part of nature. And we're going to go to work with nature and recapture our power, our health, our vitality, our energy. They don't want that. But put your tinfoil hat back on, right? We do. That's what all of us want. We want family. We want connection. We want health. We want longevity. We want our basic necessities met that free us up to go be more human and creative and create more ideas that better our world. And unfortunately, there are people who don't like that. But we're going to change
I
it.
think totally. And I think this conversation, I couldn't be more grateful, because a lot of the time people want to make a difference and they don't know how. And a lot of people will say, like, little old me, like, what can I do? And it's like the difference that we can make, even getting to know our local farmers, are like, knowing where you can buy local food, coming together. I see so many people now like doing sourdough breads and sharing it with the community. And I love this. It's like, we can make a difference, and it's all about the intention and the energy. Like, what are we putting our energy towards? What do we believe to be true, instead of believing what's right in front of us? Because we can be the change, and small actions over time add up to a big thing and are inspiring.
Absolutely.
And then we meet people like you, Matt, and we are so inspired because you've created a blueprint for people to do what they thought was impossible. And I'm so grateful. We're both so grateful, and we can't wait to be more involved in this. And my question to you, for anyone who's listening, and if you are sparked by this today, then I just invite you to like continue diving into this subject. And Matt, like, what would be the first step for people that wanted to explore food forest abundance? And then can you also share how everyone can find you and food forest abundance? Because I feel like this is something that is really going to get legs and continue to be shared person to person. We know is the best way. And so if you're listening to this, please send this episode to the first person you thought of, so that we can really spread the good news about what's possible, especially with our own power. It's bringing back our life force energy.
Yes, it is. And I just want to say a couple quotes before I go to the next piece. One is, there's one thing stronger than all the armies of the world. That's an idea whose time has come. 2, although the problems of the world seem increasingly complex, the solutions remain embarrassingly simple.
So simple.
And 3, those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war. And I guess the final one is all around what you said there, little old me, what can I do? You can do a lot by taking care of you. So don't worry about taking care of everybody. Every time you take care of you by establishing and taking your own power back, establishing a system that provides for you and your family, you are making a greater impact than you could ever really realize. All the problems that are out there are solved if you focus on taking care of you and your family, right? It's the analogy of put your own mask on before helping somebody else when you're on the airplane. So just wanted to, leave those for people to think about. And then on where do people start, we do what's called a strategy session. These are complimentary. So anybody can go through a strategy session with one of our designers or myself and learn about what's possible for them. We'll share ideas, tell them, help break down some of the preconceived beliefs. And then from there, help them decide what's right for them. If anything, at least they know and they can make the best choice. They can find those at foodforestabundance.com. They're called strategy sessions. People can book those. We hope we're clogged up with strategy sessions, because one of our goals is to be the leader in talking to the most people about what's possible through permaculture. And then where to find me, on Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/Matthew.Britt. Instagram, it's Matthew Britt's Picks. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. You can just find me, search my name, Matthew Britt.
Definitely recommend following you. You're always giving so much wisdom away. And I thank you for your servant heart, your leadership, and everything you're doing for this planet. Because we know that your hands are in multiple things. And I know we'll have you back on to talk about more ways that you are finding solutions for people to take their power back. And I know that we're both very grateful for that.
Very grateful. Matt, thank you so much for your time today. It was great diving into this a little bit more, because I think when people just, they want to do it, but they don't know where to go for the information, now we have a place for them to go. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you both as well. I love talking with you guys. You're awesome people and very aligned in every way. And let's continue to share and spread the light.
Absolutely. Have a good day, everyone. And make sure to check the show notes for all of those links. See you soon. Thank you so much for joining me on the Living Word podcast today. My hope is that you have something new or a remembrance that you can apply in your life right now. Isn't that the whole point of us learning and growing? to take new understandings and alchemize them through our own human experience. Please like and leave a comment or review if you enjoyed this episode, and share it with people in your life who would benefit from hearing it also. Make sure you subscribe to the Living Word podcast on your favorite platform and be the first to know about upcoming episodes. Sending so much love and gratitude to be on this journey together. See you soon.